Hey guys, Tesla here. Apparently this is a pretty garbage video from The Verge. I usually like the videos by The Verge, but apparently this one is so bad it doesn't deserve the sponsorship up here.
It's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So let's build a new one.
Alright. Nice editing and everything.
You can
so
build
far.
a gaming desktop for around $1,000, but
You can build it for less than that. You can build it for like $300 these days.
I want to go all out.
All out. Dude, all out is like $13,000, mate.
So I spent around $2,000. PC like this is going to be able to play
1080, oh my god. A $2,000 budget, you should have at least a 1080 Ti. Come on, dude.
most games at ultra settings.
All games.
So what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a table.
Wow, I wonder why. I could probably build a PC without a table. Because that's so, like, ugh. Common sense, kid.
Preferably not metal. If it's gonna
Preferably not metal.
be metal, have an anti-static working surface layered on top of it.
True.
Thermal paste
Fair
applicator.
enough, fair enough.
An Allen wrench. Some tweezers to tighten up the wires. A Swiss Army knife, which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver.
Wait, did he just...
Some tweezers layered on top of it. A thermal paste applicator.
Sorry,
An
can you hear
Allen
this again?
wrench.
I'm gonna turn the speed down so you can actually hear them.
Some tweezers to
Did he
tighten
just call those tweezers? I'm sorry, what?
up the wires.
He called zip ties tweezers. Oh my god. Alright, probably just something bad. Like, probably. Might, like, just be a mistake in the script or something.
A Swiss Army knife, which hopefully has a
Hopefully. Hopefully. Oh boy. You could just buy a normal screwdriver, you know. They're not that expensive. You're The Verge. You have access to, countless build guides!
Phillips head screwdriver in it. And last but not least, an anti-static bracelet, which is to protect
Where's the cable, mate? That's literally a
You?
rubber band.
and the parts.
Protect you. Because I'm gonna get shocked while building this PC. No.
These are the
It's off.
parts you're gonna need. But more importantly, before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another. To better understand the parts that make up a desktop, let's try to understand them individually. The processor is like the computer's brain, a base of
Right.
calculations that control everything the computer does.
Oh, that's
The
nice.
motherboard is like the foundation, serving as a main structure for all other parts to be added to. It also allows the other parts to communicate with one another,
Yeah.
which also makes it kind of like a nervous system. Graphics cards are responsible for rendering and processing visuals into what
Right.
you see on screen. Our PC's power supply is of course channeling electricity, in that it adjusts and provides the right amount of energy to keep it running. Last but not least, RAM, or random access memory, and your hard drive are good examples of short-term
Or SSD.
and long-term memory, respectively. If you want to better understand what kind of computer to build, then first figure out what
Oh boy.
you want to use it for. A gamer might care more about a graphics card than, say,
That's true.
a video editor who might want extra RAM to assist.
Are you sure about that, though? Because I know for a fact that I'm a video editor, right? I edit a ton of videos. I know we use RAM, like I have 32 gigs in my PC. But it might just be, but like the CPU does look a little small on there. Graphics card, it's only for like hardware acceleration, so you don't need that good of a graphics card. I have a 960 in my PC. But I got a 5820K, like it's a pretty beefy CPU you should have in your system. You should have good RAM. RAM and CPU should be roughly equal in a video editor setting.
Assist with editing large files. If you're building a budget build for video streaming, say under $1,000, you want to focus on parts, like a Core i5 or Core i3 processor, that require less energy. They'll be less powerful, but then you'll be able to scale back the cost of several other parts. And if you need help choosing the right parts for your build, there are sites like PCPartPicker.com that help show presets for which parts fit together, which sort of part conflicts you might have, and where to find deals on new parts. We have a lot of boxes and a lot of PC parts, so it's best you unbox them, isolate the parts that you really need, place items into the case, and make sure that they all fit, and then start working.
Make sure that they all fit. Should probably do that before buying it, honestly.
And now we're really going to start building by adding the motherboard in.
Okay, hold on. You should install the CPU first?
Some notes about installing motherboards, they're really delicate. You should be really careful with
Fair enough. They're pretty delicate.
them. And screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard,
You'll crack the motherboard. PCB.
otherwise you could crack the board. I chose Asus's Z370 motherboard for two main reasons. One, it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also it
whoa. Where's your RAM? And where's your CPU? You should install those way before.
has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning
Most motherboards nowadays do. What are you doing?
you can get really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace that goes.
Wait, can we just slow this down?
Get really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace
It's pronounced IO Shield?
that goes at the back of the computer. You always
This guy's actually like... I'm actually kind of like scared at this point for this guy. Oh my.
have to make sure that you really hammer it in, because there's no
Hammer it in. No, just place it in until it clicks. This stupid guy. Oh my god.
screw. It really just has to go outside of the case and clasp onto the frame. And this is very important because otherwise you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes.
Fair enough.
We're just going to start installing all 8 screws.
Didn't talk about standoffs at all, did you? Also, why are all your RAM slots open?
So next we're going to install the
fair
RAM
enough,
on the
fair enough, actually.
motherboard.
He has only 2 slots of RAM.
I chose Corsair's 16GB Vengeance LED RAM for 2 main reasons. One, it has LEDs and we do like lights in our gaming desktops.
You also like RGB, and Vengeance RGB is good too, so why didn't you buy that?
Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz, I believe. So
That's so slow, dude. Like, you need to have 3000 megahertz or higher if you're gonna do any gaming. Like, actually, though? Oh my god. 2666 is like video editing level. That's what I have. I have 2400 actually.
it's pretty fast, and this
Pretty fast. It goes up to like 5000 megahertz, boy.
motherboard supports that speed, which is most important.
All motherboards support that speed. They go way higher than that.
Open the slots first, and just
Not all
aligning
4.
the stick with the middle of the strip, not with the end, and just lining that up with the logo. So once you hear that solid clasp and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in.
Wait, so this is on the
Step
edge,
3,
right?
we're going to install
Wait a minute.
the gold connectors on the side
That's the
anymore.
connector on the edge.
That's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3,
And these are next to each other, right there. These are next to each other. Also, they're supposed to be spread out because then they can do the dual channel. I mean, 2 single channel instead of 1 dual channel, and dual channel is way faster. You should know what you're doing before doing this. Like, honestly, like, this is the internet.
we're going to install the hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD.
Fair enough.
I chose this format of solid-state drive
Because it's fast and everyone does it.
so that I could input it into the motherboard without having to worry about extra wires
That's fair.
or putting
That's
it in a separate
fair.
part of the case and just getting really messy.
Presented by Capital One. Capital One, you need your sponsorship back.
This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not
Okay, Kingston isn't that bad, but I would prefer you Samsung 960 Evo or 960 Pro or 970 even.
a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap it out, and it's only held down by 1 screw and the latch, so it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is important
What
when
are
it
you
comes to a hard drive.
doing?
You want
Just use a magnetic tipped screwdriver that's not on a Swiss Army knife. Just buy a regular screwdriver.
files to write quickly, and you want games to load quickly, so that's why it's best if you use an SSD.
Alright, this is getting
Okay, so
cringy
step
enough.
4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY
Why? PNY, honestly? You could just choose a better brand. You're building a $2,000 PC and you're using a PNY 1080.
GTX 1080, which is
Oh my, look at
so
those
step
heat
4,
pipes,
we're going to
dude.
install the graphics card. I
Oh my
chose
God.
PNY's
He's like, look at this bad boy. This bad boy can fit so many memes in it. And it's like, look at your heat pipes and look at your fans and tell me that's a modern graphics card, honestly.
GTX 1080, which
Still hasn't wired his anti-static strap. Can I just say that this is offering you no protection?
is overclocked, and so it's a pretty easy installation.
Also, where's your backplate? This is 2018.
You're just going to find the gold connectors, And you're going to line this bracket with the back end bracket, or
Since it's so big, you should probably also have a GPU bracket to prevent it from
the
sagging.
PC case. Now, which lane you choose depends entirely on what other parts you're going to put in the system.
No! Kind of, but like they all run at different speeds. There's 16x, there's 8x, there's 4x, there's 1x. If you put a card in something that's not a 16x slot, like a graphics card, you're gonna have compromises on your performance because it needs that better speed so it can be faster. So just place it in the top slot or whatever slot that your motherboard manual has.
I'm just going to pick the top one because the SSD is at the bottom and I don't want to cover it. I
Why do you not want to cover it? It looks ugly anyway. Get like a Samsung SSD. It looks so much better.
just think it looks nice. Click down. Take your remaining brackets and just put them in the spot
Or just when you build the computer, just take out the brackets you need, you know?
that you haven't used. You don't have to screw these in. They get bolted down by the back end bracket.
Oh, it's one of these, like, really stupid ones. Yeah, it's a Corsair case.
And your GPU's installed. Power supply time. I chose Corsair's 850 watt power supply because I need enough headroom for ray tracing GPUs when they come out, and I don't want to have to upgrade it again. So all you have to do is take the brick and
It's called a PSU, not a brick.
make sure that you align it with these little insulating pads.
Those aren't insulating pads. They're sound dampening pads. So that the CPU, the power supply, doesn't make a ton of noise.
So the power supply doesn't short circuit and come into contact with the rest of the system.
I'm sorry, I'm losing brain cells listening to this guy. I'm doing it for that YouTube view.
Insulating pads.
Not insulating.
So the power supply doesn't
I'm sorry, wait, can we listen to this, like, 3 words again? Like, listen to this guy saying this.
short circuit and
Power supplies don't short circuit. There's something called isolation. Welcome to the 21st century.
come into contact with the rest of the system.
So basically what he's saying is complete garbage. That, like, if your power supply doesn't short out because the case is there, if it did, you would have touched it and it would have shorted out into you and you'd be dead already. Science. But that's not possible because isolation and also why? So if my motherboard if my power supply shorts, the rest of my system is dead. If it touches my case, it's dead. Sure. You can believe what you want, kid.
So just take it in.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Fan facing out. Your power supply is gonna heat the rest of your system. This guy is
Let it in
actually
nice
like
and easy
a
until
real
you have
idiot.
a snug fit, and then shift it to the back and make
You do realize that there is no insulation on the back, so it would short circuit out.
sure it's right up against the frame. Now you just take the required screws and you tighten and screw in. So next step, we're going to install the CPU core. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case.
Right.
And we're just going to have the hose hang out
Hose.
for a little while until we install the processor, which is going to come a little later. Always be
Wait, this guy hasn't installed the processor yet? Thought that was the first step.
sure to try to place it in the system first before
Where are your fans, boy? You need fans before you put it in the case, boy. Oh my god, boy!
you install it, because you can see it takes up a lot of space.
Not really. EK radiators take up more.
But in this case, no pun intended, it fits in perfectly, and we're gonna start screwing it in.
Yeah, this is just bad enough. I don't need puns to make this worse.
And so there's nothing special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws
Because you need to put the fans on.
because they go through the entire frame of the cooler,
The frame of the cooler isn't that big.
and they take forever.
Yeah, because you're using a Swiss Army knife.
So next up, cables. Every power supply is
Not everyone, only modular ones. Semi-modular ones don't come with a huge bag.
gonna come with a big bag of Velcro cables. It's kind
My
of
God.
daunting at first, so you always have
Not really,
to find the ones that are gonna fit.
because they have labels on them.
In this case, you need to match those cables with the correct descriptions on the power supply.
Because they only go in one way and there's only one of each type.
Next step is we're connecting the power supply to the motherboard with a 24-pin cable. We're just matching that cable from the power
Wait, I
supply
thought you already
to
had
the
it
motherboard
done
with the
in this
24-pin
picture
cable.
right here.
We're just matching that cable from the motherboard, threading it through the back, and attaching the 24-pin header to the power supply
Come
so that we
on,
can have
dude.
one of the connections complete. The next few additions will be
Dude, look how much that's sticking out.
the GPU, for any specific ports that the case has, for any lighting that the case has, the CPU cooler,
There is no lighting in this case.
anything else really. We're installing the CPU.
Intel confidential research sample. Hoo. Shouldn't put a research sample in this waste of oxygen.
The heart of the computer, or the brain, depending on how you look at it. So to do this, we're just going to remove the plastic covering that they put on the motherboard.
Right.
We're just going to take this little plastic part out. Just toss that out of here.
Rip warranty.
And now we have an exposed CPU holder, or rather slot.
It's called a socket. Learn.
On the motherboard.
Oh my
And we're
god,
gonna
I'm
use
actually
the
like,
CPU
oh my.
applicator. This is a special little part that not everyone may get, but this
What actually though? You are using what is a CPU applicator? It's called your hands. And also, why were you putting it in there using a thermal paste applicator? You could damage the resistors.
board that we got from ASUS definitely does have. It's called a CPU installation tool. It makes it really useful if you want to install a Core i7 hexa-core CPU.
Yeah, you look so boss, right? I have a Core i7 hexa-core CPU as well.
Yeah, we've got one.
Wow, it's the most exclusive chip in the world. Research sample 8700K.
And it's an
Clap,
8th generation
clap.
chip, and it's ready to go. And it supports overclocking.
Wow, very exclusive. Totally not a chip called the 8700K. That is literally that thing in its final form. Like, my god.
So what having this little installer does for you is it's basically a brace that you can apply right to the CPU
Oh, he used the word brace again. Makes me look at that IO shield.
and light it up with the triangles that
Are on the motherboard.
you'll see on the bottom left corners.
Bottom left corner is plural.
And this will make it easier for us to apply it to the motherboard and then apply thermal paste
Apply.
and then apply a CPU
Apply thermal paste using an AIO. There's
cooler
thermal
on
paste
top.
on it already.
And we're just going to carefully lean it down into the system.
Wait, sorry, I
and
don't
make sure
see
that
that. Wait,
everything
where's your
lines up.
applicator?
And we're going to clasp down on it and we'll be good
Sorry, your applicator's over here. It's not even where it's supposed to be.
to go. So we're about to apply thermal paste to the CPU. Every CPU cooler actually comes with a bit of thermal paste already
A bit.
neatly applied in a circle around it, but
That's how you should leave it, because he's gonna put more on it. He's gonna put thermal paste on thermal paste, and it's just gonna, oh my god, you're gonna raise your temps.
it's usually not enough. It's
Usually not enough. Dude, it is more than enough. For an 8700K, dude, this is like a 5820K. This is like a heat monster. And air cooling this thing idles at like 60C. Oh my god. Usually not enough. This is like 30C with like stock thermal paste. Like, oh my. Brain cells. My brain cell count is decreasing.
good, essentially PC building practice
No, it's not.
to have a little bit extra and layer it on
What
top
are
of the
you
CPU.
doing?
The final
You put one rice-sized blob, one rice grain-sized blob, or smaller, on your thing if it doesn't have any. And you have thermal paste already applied professionally, which is probably better grade thermal paste than what you have right now. And you're applying like 50 gobs of it. You should really stop.
portion is to add the CPU cooler to the top end of the processor. So you're gonna
Oh my god. Oh my god. I've seen enough. What is that? What is this, first of all? You said thread it behind, so there shouldn't be any exposed stuff. What is that? Your RAM's in the wrong spot. And what is that? People got flamed for putting a single dot on it. And you literally cover it in thermal paste.
see that there
And don't forget there's thermal paste on his cooler, too.
are 4 brackets, or rather like screws in here with brackets
Just, oh my god.
and holders right here. And they're going to keep the
You have no
cooler
idea what the
raised
hell you're
off the
doing.
processor, but it's also going to be close enough to actually physically come in contact with it, like basically keep it cool. Take
Yeah, it's definitely not going to stay cool with the amount of thermal paste you put on it.
Thumb screws like this, and just screw them on. So now that our internals are done, we're going to put all the panels back on, which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of course
Oh god,
the back
it's
panel
finally
where
over.
all of this fun stuff is happening. So we fully built the PC.
Oh my god, this is my first PC I ever built that I'm using. The cable management is literally like this, but like my second PC is like way better. And with a PC that size, like you have no problem with cable management. Look at the way your like the thing for your cooling pipe, your tubing is just hanging like that. That is your power cable. Like oh my god. And look, he finally put in fans, but he never bothered to tell us.
Everything's put together, and we got to the post screen. So what's next?
Just the fact that the PC started was pretty impressive on its own. Also, nice HD audio cable right here.
PC, everything's put together, and we got to the post screen. So what's next? Well, you need a USB flash drive with your Windows installation media on it.
Right.
And of course, a license key. So I plugged that up, installed Windows in a couple of minutes, installed a bunch of drivers, and
like that's a hassle. They usually come with your stuff.
And now we have a fully functioning gaming PC
That probably sucks.
ready to run some games. Right now I've got Armor 3 running at maximum settings, and
Like that's actually a challenge for any modern hardware these days,
native resolution, which is 1080p HD,
which is not even that high.
and it's running pretty smoothly. Like, I'm averaging 70 and 80 FPS, and this is normally like a very intensive game to run, and it's still doing a pretty good job.
Hey, nice FAQ,
So right now I'm
kid.
playing League of Legends. It's one of my favorite games. I'm actually playing against a bot.
Okay, League of Legends, like, the minimum requirements for League of Legends. You're benching this thing with League of Legends? That's just sad. League of Legends has, like, the smallest minimum requirements, like, of any game.
And I'm distracted, so I'm not actually doing so well.
Yeah, how about you don't talk and you voice over this part, then?
But otherwise, like, this is pretty much what you would see me do on a gaming computer. Test stuff out, and hopefully
Dude, you have, like, 2 HP against this bot.
have really high frame rates like I am right now. I'm averaging
Wait, sorry,
100,
is that
and hopefully
29 ms? Okay, really high frame rates. 120 ms, because you probably have, like, a really bad monitor with, like, VSync or something, like me. 31 ms. Like, actually, though,
have really high frame rates like I am right now.
you are not having very high frame rates right now,
I'm averaging 120 FPS, and
which
that's
is bad.
only because I've actually locked the game to that frame rate, because
VSync.
I can get around 300 FPS playing League on maximum
I can get, like, 3,000 FPS playing League with a 960, bro. Get on my level.
settings, which is a little bit absurd, and you don't really need that, so I
Unless you have a good monitor, which you don't.
locked it. Building a
You could have, like, one of those, like, really nice Samsung 49-inch, 144 hertz, 1 ms monitors, and then you'd actually be using, like, half of your graphics card.
gaming desktop has been a great experience.
Not for me, though. This is, like, actually, like, my brain cells are just... I'm gonna have to do that, like, one exercise where you hold your ears and you, like, kneel and stuff. And every 10 of those, you get one new brain cell. I'm gonna have to do, like, 60 of those to gain, like, 6 brain cells that I've lost from watching this guy.
Battlefield 5 and
Sorry, what?
my favorite titles, and I'll be able to play a lot of upcoming titles like Battlefield 5 and
Could have benched it using the open beta. And another thing is, you're benching with League, so you can play Battlefield 5. Something about that doesn't add up for me.
Cyberpunk 2077 without worrying too much about the parts I have. When ray tracing GPUs come out, for example, I'll
Like you just did. Like you made this 3 days ago, and the RTX 2080 was already released.
be able to upgrade without having to buy a completely new system.
Like every other person in the world just did.
And if I have a problem down the line, I can always just swap out a part and have it serviced.
Oh,
rather than
trust
losing my
me.
whole
You are going to need service because this is the most cancerous PC build ever. Like, this is worse than Bitwit Kyle's How Not to Build a PC. Like, this guy's actually serious, and he's doing a worse job.
computer. And of course now we also have a computer to test and benchmark games here at The Verge.
Wait, you're gonna use this to benchmark games at The Verge? Dude, you need, like, you need some serious help. Oh, it's finally over. Capital One, get your sponsorship back. This is like actual cancer.
Thanks for watching.
No, thanks for thanks for making me lose some brain cells.
Let me know if you've built a computer before yourself, or how you would spend $2,000 on your own build. I'm really interested in seeing what sort of parts you guys would get. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Verge if you haven't already. So a few years ago, TC, or Managing...
Alright, so... what's really annoying is that they disabled comments because I got so many negative ones. And, yeah. I'm actually just like, this is cancer.
physically come in contact with it, like basically keep it cool. Take thumb screws,
like this is actually something that is better than the actual thing.
This, and just screw them on. So now that our internals are done, we're gonna put all the panels back on, which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of course the back panel where all this fun stuff is happening.
Exactly. Thank you for watching. I've lost enough brain cells at this point. Oh my god, see you guys later. I'm not even gonna edit this because I've lost that many brain cells.